when you put love into anything, there's a quality about that is life and death. Like the context at the beach was life and death. And in anything else I've done ever since, whether it's being married to my college sweetheart now, this summer will be 30 years, and having 4 kids, and the agony and the humility of that, right?
Too.
Because seriously, raising kids, you learn humility. Just like being in business, you learn humility. Being an entrepreneur, being a speaker, which is something that you and I both do a lot of that internationally, speaking and being on stage in front of people. You've got to kind of stow the ego and make sure that the things that are most important are the things that you put your life on the line for.
This is Entrepreneurs the Playbook, where I give you access each week to the world's greatest athletes and executives about their personal and professional playbook and what has made them champions on and off the field. This is the Playbook. This is David Meltzer with Entrepreneur the Playbook, and I have not only super speaker, author, transformational thinker, thought leader, but a dear friend, which is most important to me, Adam Markel. And we started off by talking about names because I always ask people before we start, hey, how do I pronounce your name? Now, we're old friends, and I've never really asked you how do I pronounce your last name. And I just want to start by telling entrepreneurs, it's the questions that you're not asking that make you lose credibility.
Yeah, you know what? That's a really good point, because it's a vulnerable thing to ask that question. I mean, questions that themselves are vulnerable, right? Because we're taught when we're kids not to ask questions because, right?
Right.
you get ostracized, you get kind of bullied for that kind of thing. So thank you for asking, because you and I are first name friends.
Yes.
And we've never really,
from the start, you were a
had
soul
that
brother. I'm like,
last
I
name
just
thing
assumed
going.
the way it was spelled. But it's interesting you talk about vulnerability, because one of the things that both of us have realized later in our career, because we both screwed up a lot as younger and we lost a lot of money. And
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure. And
Okay.
we learned a lot
too,
from it.
right?
Yeah. But what's cool about it is what we learned about vulnerability was by illuminating who we truly are and sharing our mistakes with people and the lessons that we've learned from those mistakes, that we actually become invulnerable.
Vulnerability is I love Brene Brown, and I think vulnerability is a strength, and she did so much research on that topic. I just feel like, to me, what is the new currency is not so much authenticity, but transparency. And there's nothing that's more transparent than admitting things like you've made a mistake, or really being genuine about the things you just don't know.
Yeah, and I took and I'm looking at the whistle that's sitting on my desk, because it's really cool. I watch a lot of TED Talks for two reasons. I believe that, I have no original thought, that I channel things, and that I have a way of transcoding other people's ideas, though a whole different frequency can learn it. Yeah. And so I watch the people that I admire most. And so when I saw that you had your TED Talk, I immediately went there and said, cool, what can I learn from Adam? And also, what can I transcode from it for a different frequency so other people can share his genius? And you told this extraordinary story about the lifeguard and 3 whistles, and I saw the whistle there, so I want to bring it up. Tell everyone
right here
about the whistle. Why would you bring it to my podcast?
It's so funny. I felt compelled to bring it today because it's so much of what I know about leadership, and I mean leadership not just in business. That's a primary focus of what I do these days, but leadership in a family, as a father, as a husband, as a friend, any form of leadership. I learned a lot of those lessons when I was 19 years old as an ocean lifeguard. So 7 summers as an ocean lifeguard, 18 years as an attorney. I'm a fully recovered attorney now, so I'm pleased to be able to say that.
We have that in common as well.
Smile and yeah, no, it's true. And then the last 7-8 years as a CEO of a company. So leadership's a really important thing, and I learned my greatest lessons. So kind of like that book of everything I learned in kindergarten.
Yeah, I love that book.
Yeah, so much of what I know, I know because of my experiences at the beach, and that experience I share on the TED Talk is a time when we lost somebody at the beach, where it was a search and rescue at a field that was adjacent to ours, and we went down and spent an hour in the water in the cold Atlantic Ocean searching for this guy in a massive current, and we didn't find him. And what I ended up learning that day and for 7 summers at the beach after that meant that we didn't lose anybody. Like, I'll give you the sort of the Reader's Digest version is that we developed a mantra that nobody goes down on our watch.
Right.
And our captain at the time said, you either make the save or you die trying. That's a pretty intense mantra to live by. But philosophically, it became how I approached everything I've done in life, whether it was as a lawyer or as a parent or as a friend or anything else. I see people as being not so much my responsibility, but people that I just don't want to leave behind. So marketing wise, any way wise, even sales, it's you're wanting to not leave people behind. That's the philosophy. And
it was awesome. The thing that's interesting, you talk about responsibility, and I feel energy of people, and when we project ourselves, I'm not talking about I feel responsible. Do you have responsibility issues as far as do you feel responsible for everyone?
That's a really great question. I mean, there's the part of me that still wants to be liked, and I have to deal with that shadow, that part that's still from having been bullied when I was a young kid to still wanting people to approve of me and like me. And there's that little voice I hear from time to time. And then there's that part that I learned at the beach where I started to take on the responsibilities of a lot of things and a lot of people, which can lead to burnout and exhaustion. And exhaustion in the workplace, burnout in life is a big deal, being out of balance. But now what I realize at this point in my life is that there's work that's mine to do and there's work that's not mine to do. I think that's you started out with a really powerful question, which was to ask me how to pronounce my name, right?
Yeah.
Not assuming or just willing to sort of not care. Even.
Pretend even.
Yeah, pretend. Right, exactly. It's a difference between presence and pretense. Mm-hmm. So for me, that a powerful question is what is mine to do? And also what is not mine to do? I think what's really great about being a part of a team, and more often than not, I think you're talking in although your work really it's not siloed. Like you talk to sports folks and people are really great in that area, but also about business and personal development, spiritual things. So yeah. I love the fact
life. I call it life. I'm a life business guy.
Right. That's where you go. To me, I like to think of leadership as something that crosses all those boundaries as well. And it's so to make sure that people don't go down on your watch means that you have a team, that you don't have to cover everything. It's not your job to sit in one lifeguard stand and try to cover an entire beach. That's not how we did it. We had 4 stands east and west, and we had 100,000 patrons on that beach on a Saturday or a Sunday. And when there are strong rip currents or sucks, as we used to call them, we worked as a team to make sure that we didn't lose anybody that day. And that was a pretty good system.
And to the essence of living or dying, when you're put under the pressure of, we're going to die trying. Yeah. I sat with Ray Lewis, and he told me, I said, you're probably the most extraordinary linebacker I've ever seen play the game as a team player, as an individual, et cetera. But there's a difference because you're not the fastest, strongest, or most intelligent player I've ever seen at that position.
He must have loved to hear that.
Right. I'm like, what? I'm honest, I'm like, but what was it that made the difference? And he leaned over, grabbed my leg, and he said, when I step on the field, I was willing to die.
Yeah.
So it really pressed me. I still kind of get choked up because there's certain things, am I going to put my life, like you said, am I going to go down? And I think it's a huge difference in business or in the pursuit of your potential that the people that accelerate or exceed in life, they're willing to reach that line, to give there's only 100% to me. I don't like the BS of I give 110%. I'm like, look, I'm a math guy. I'm trying to give as close to 100% as I can because I'm in the pursuit of my potential. That's my truth. That's my happiness. Yes. When someone tells you, you're going to die before someone else does, what does that mean to you? Like, I really want to get your philosophy of, I shared mine. Like, what does that mean? Like, are you really willing, you think you may not leave the ocean, are you willing to dive in there and do that?
So I want to cover a few things.
Please.
The answer is yes.
I'm a horrible interviewer because I asked like 3 questions in one.
It's a compound question, but that's all right. To me,
I'm getting good at this, though.
Do you love the movie Jerry Maguire?
Yeah, you think?
How freaking great is that movie, right? So,
well, that's after my firm, right? Lee Steinberg. I was CEO of Lee Steinberg. And
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's
so this they made the movie Jerry Maguire. Again.
Yeah, I was CEO of Lee Steinberg.
From the moment we met, they're constantly having these. So I'm wearing a shirt. The shirt says More Love. Yep. This is the name of our company, More Love Media.
Over $100 million in sales, by the way, you superstar.
Ah, look at that.
Sorry.
But more love is what we're talking about. That's the level of intensity. That when you put love into anything, there's a quality about that is life and death. Like the context at the beach was life and death. And in anything else I've done ever since, whether it's being married to my college sweetheart now this summer be 30 years and having 4 kids and the agony and the humility
we
of
sharing
that,
that
right?
too.
Because seriously, raising kids, you learn humility. Just like being in business, you learn humility. Being an entrepreneur, being a speaker, which is something that, you know, you and I both do a lot of that internationally, speaking and being on stage in front of people. You've got to kind of stow the ego and make sure that the things that are most important are the things that you put your life on the line for. So yeah, was I willing to sort of lay down on the train tracks for my clients when I was an attorney? Yes. Now, law wasn't my calling. I did it for 18 years, as a lot of people do things out of responsibility and obligation. I just didn't know better when I started. So it wasn't my calling to continue to do that. But the point was that when I did it in the same way as when people were in front of me in the water, in the ocean, when I was in that role. And I think that's the kind of love that you have to put into things, because that's, you get a commensurate result from it. When you put that level of focus and attention into your relationships, you get relationships like we have. Like we haven't even spent all that much time together, and yet there's nothing but like mad love between us,
yeah,
right?
Exactly. Oh yeah. And if you would call me, I always had a thing when I was younger. I know my true friends by the fact that we both live in San Diego and have homes there as well. That, you know, if somebody called me, if I called somebody at 2 a.m. from Tijuana saying I need your help, would they be there?
Yes.
And your name comes to mind. I have no doubt you would be there. Which leads to something else, because, you know, you're 18 years.
Did I
as a
answer
lawyer.
your question, by the way?
Yes, it was awesome.
Okay.
As always, 18 years as a lawyer.
Yeah.
What I see in both our careers, we have such similar backgrounds, such similar families, 4 kids, childhood sweetheart, like the whole deal.
Yes.
But, you know, this book is my life. I talk about people that limit their point of entry.
Yeah.
But, you know, pivoting is an interesting thing when you have more love, because we're willing to give so much and you feel responsibility or your role now.
Yes.
But how, with all that, do you pivot into something else?
Well, first of all, you've got to take really great care of yourself, because when you realize that if you're following your heart, there are going to be a lot of pivots in your life. I don't mean so much the relationship side, because to me, the pivots inside of that relationship aren't me finding other relationships. It's about what are the little things that can be done day to day that just make that relationship better. I mean, that's the one good thing about 30 years of marriage under our belt now, is that it's not been easy, but it's been rich. It's been beautiful. I mean, and we already created a vision board for our 75th wedding anniversary, which is July 29, 2064. And we know exactly where we're going to be and who's going to be invited. You're going to be on that list.
I'll be there.
All right, you going to be there, brother?
I got it. Oh, yeah.
Right?
And Julie, my wife,
So
will be
pivoting,
right behind you.
Pivoting is a word for change. And I believe what Ram Dass says, that you got to make friends with change, because it's the one great constant that's around us in nature. We can't get away from it. And disruption, the pace of disruption now, change, in other words, is exponentially greater every day in the
My
marketplace.
favorite line about change, so you can steal it, is there's only one person on earth, one type of person on earth that loves change. A wet baby. Everybody else hates it.
Hates it.
Not me. I embrace
Yes.
it like you.
Embrace it. And in the TED Talk, that was one of the things that I wanted to really have come out, was that the pivots in my life haven't been easy. They've been beautiful, elegant, looking backward, but really challenging at the time. And there's a process. That's just that's why we wrote the book, to create, give people a little bit of a process for how to handle change, so that even though you know that, as you said, first instinct is to sort of push it away, resist, or bury your head in the sand, that there's a way to actually give it more love, to actually embrace it.
You know, building muscles are important, and you're always physically fit. You surf, you take good care of yourself. You also understand that the heart is a muscle.
Yes.
And love. The brain is a muscle. But I have a different muscle I want to ask you about, because I think we share this. I believe faith is a muscle. That that's why young people can't do what people with more experience as we get older. That's why marriages do, when you're able to pivot within a relationship, relationships can truly flourish beyond explanation to younger people. That's why we think that you don't know what love is about when you're 18, although it is a love. It's just different, because faith is a muscle. How do you, or have you built that muscle over your career?
Still building it. I mean, I fall off the faith truck kind of on a daily basis. And by that, I mean, I have moments where I just don't, I have to look up in the sky, and I have to think am I, am I violating what I've already learned? I've already been shown so many times that when I do certain things, like when I think a certain way, when I cultivate certain thoughts, when I make time to be in stillness, for example, then and allow, and there's a result of that. It's always a very predictable result. And when I go to the other side, to the fear side, when I go to the side of trying to make stuff happen, forcing things, or I allow my thoughts to drift into those places which are all about my ego, or all about, impatience and things like that, then I start to suffer. And it's in that suffering that I have to go, okay, thank you. Thank you for allowing me to just have this experience and learn my lesson. And I'm instantly forgiven, if you will.
Right. And I think being parent of 4 children, but having such a robust lifestyle, both of us lead traveling, robust lifestyle. And I came back from the MBA.
Thanks for not saying busy, by the way.
Yeah, I hate the word busy, by the way. We're active. I tell people all the time, you're active. There's
dynamic.
Active. Learn to monetize as much activity as possible. It'll make you even happier by shopping for the right things with your money. I came back from the NBA All-Star game. 8-year-old was with me. My wife was with me. My daughter flew in from Tulane to come visit. The trip, as always, come up with a well-developed plan. You're guaranteed to make God laugh. Nothing went as planned, but it was really extraordinary. And it was interesting, though, because my first fear thought of the day, and I tried to see what my fear thoughts are, my ego talking, was that I wasn't as present as I'd like to be with my 8-year-old during that trip.
Right.
I did a great job at the NBA All-Star game because I put him to my left. And even though I had 2 business associates with me, I ignored them like most fathers ignore their kids when they go to games with business people.
Yep.
Right. I turned this way, though, the entire game towards my son. I was present. But I felt the last day that I was there, I had a Rise Venture thing that I did with CJ Anderson. And there was a Fortnite thing at the Top Golf, and he played. And it really hit me this morning. I wasn't the best dad that I could be. How are you dealing with the balance of happily married? And I know that for a fact, 'cause I've been to dinner with you and your wife, and I see it and feel it. 4 children who are very adjusted and successful and happy, even though we both agree that there's no one dumber on earth than teenagers.
Or listen to their parents less.
That's thriving. Author, speaker, podcaster. You're the only one I know closest to me when people are like, how the hell do you do it? I'm not going to ask you that, but how do you, or what advice would you give to balance all of that?
Dude, just listening to you say that makes I need a nap. Like somebody pull out a cot and let me sleep. I don't believe in balance. Good. So this is a distinction for me. I feel like that's a word for struggle, and I'm not interested in struggle. So it's more harmony. It's this yin and yang, which is more a symbol of harmonizing between things. And so I don't manage my time. I'm not a great time management person anyway. I'm a priority management person. So I create big rocks. I think about what are the most critical things, the most important things, and then I spend my time and my energy on those things. So spending time with your family is a critical thing. Leaving your cell phone in the car or leaving it somewhere where you can't get access to it while you're being present with somebody, like at dinner. Like in basic stuff that we grew up with where the cell phone just wasn't around. I mean, I know it's getting a lot of play these days, but I really think it just deserves noting that, on average, people are spending 2.5 hours a day on their cell phone, more even. So 150 times they kind of looking at it. And it gets in the way of a lot of things. It gets in the way of relationships. So whether we're talking about a relationship with spirit or a relationship with yourself, or however, whatever language it is, to create stillness and be able to get guidance and be able to recharge your battery, that device and kind of all that technology is getting in the way of that. And so it's become a ritual for me to leave it in places where I would normally take it.
That's awesome. I have a new trick with the cell phone for at least dinners with family and friends, because I think spending quality time with my friends are just as important as my family. So when we go, everyone puts their cell phone in the middle of the table, and one of the issues, especially with friends, is splitting the bill.
Yeah.
So if you grab your phone, you just got the whole bill. If 2 people grab it, they got halves.
I'm going to steal that from you.
It's the best ever. All right, last question. I wish we had more time, and we will have more time offline as well. But you have this extraordinary vision for yourself. What legacy, though, when that yin and yang all comes together, this long, fulfilled, purposeful, passionate life of yours, and I will be there on your 75th anniversary.
Thank
it's
you,
on the
brother.
recording, but
It is.
it's awesome. But what legacy? What's that Adam Markel legacy that you'd like to leave, if you believe in legacy?
I do, and that's the what the TED Talk was something that we, and I say we because it takes a team for all these things anyway. So I don't pretend that we produced that talk or I produced that talk by myself.
But where can everyone find that talk, by the way? Because I loved it.
Oh, you just go to Adam Markel TEDx Talk, and it's
on YouTube.
Doing this for 10 seconds can change your life. And the 10 seconds, I don't really want to give that part
Don't give it away. Don't,
because
I know it's awesome. Yeah.
And it's a practice. It's a ritual. And you and I have talked before. In fact, on the podcast, when you were a guest, I think we talked about the power of rituals. So I did that TEDx talk because I wanted to leave a certain message and a legacy. And that really is, to me, the most important thing that I can do. Every day I wake up, I'm thanking God continuously for the new day, for the assignment, for the opportunity to serve. And one of the ways that I serve is to help people to understand something that I've had difficulty with myself, which is what unconditional love looks like. How do you create more unconditional love in your business, in your relationships with your clients, with your customers, in a setting where you wouldn't think that love is really relevant or applicable, and yet love, as a buddy of mine is writing a book on this topic, love is just damn good business, and it's smart business. It's smart business for the soul. And so my legacy really is to help people to understand better how to love themselves unconditionally, and that without giving away the punchline of the TED Talk. That's really the essence of it, I think. And if there's nothing else that I'm known for when my days are done, I would love for that to be it.
Well, and I aspire to love as many people as I can unconditionally. In fact, I sign all my emails unconditionally for that reason, as you've inspired me. I'm blessed to be around so many great thought leaders, but to have you as a friend and a mentor has been really special for me. So, Adam Markel, thank you so much. Make sure you check out his unbelievable TED Talk, his book, Pivot, and More Love, his company. Any corporations out there want some great guidance on leadership and empowerment, he's your man. I'm humbled by you, and thank you so much for joining me. This is Dave Meltzer with Entrepreneurs, The Playbook.